continue. One of them is going to go home. As it stands, well, it is Logan Nettles who is up a game here as we come into game number 2.
Against...
well, it is Levy. We've got the wrong video feed there, but he's playing against Levy in the mirror match here on Jeskai Turns. And as I mentioned, this is a situation where Nettles is up a game, and that's critical. So let's jump into the action here, Paul, and see how things go.
All right. And it looks like we have Logan's side here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, after sideboard, we've kind of seen how this plays out a lot, but a lot of it is just, you know, the way that you would play a control matchup. Jockeying for position in terms of just making sure you develop your mana, make some treasure, cycle some sharks, and potentially even get that Nezahal onto the battlefield. So you're going to see just kind of both players really mindful of those cards and making sure that they can, you know, to the best of their ability, play around those possibilities.
Logan's a pretty deliberate player. You'll see him map out turns, look at different lines of play just to make sure that he's making the optimal play.
Yeah. You know, the consideration here is to just go with the Triome here, or potentially run out a Steam Vents untapped and make a treasure with the Magma Opus.
Right. And you can see there's already lots of, you know, you could go Triome, play Brainstorm, you could do untapped Steam Vents, make the thing. You could go tap Steam Vents, save the Triumph to cycle for later if you think it's more important. Lots of different options, even at this early stage. One thing to note here is that he has already resolved a Brainstorm, and you can see a critical card on top of the library there for Logan. There's a Nezahal.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? There's all this going back and forth. Okay, maybe I can creativity for one. You'll also have to be mindful. When your opponent has 6 lands in play, there's a very real possibility they just go land Nezahal, and there is nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, Nezahal really is the mirror breaker in these Jeskai decks. They just aren't packing removal for it. And even if you do, it's extremely difficult to kill.
Yeah, and, you know, Logan, again, just continuing to develop here. And, you know, if you notice Raph keeping a pretty, you know,
action light hand.
Exactly.
Yes.
But recognizing that, look, but neither player does anything. He's got a bunch of lands, right? So, you know, perhaps mulliganing is an even worse outcome, right? Where all of a sudden you're just not able to hit your land drops because, you know, sure, you have cards like Expressive Iteration that help you hit them, but we've seen already in many different matchups that people really, really respect the card and will aggressively counter that powerful 2-mana card draw spell.
That's right. Hand is looking pretty stocked up here for Logan Nettles already with 2 of the kind of key cards for the matchup with Shark Typhoon and Nezahal in hand already. And the rest of the cards are pretty good too. You see the Prismari Command, the Iteration. He's even got a Magma Opus and a Mystical Dispute to go with a land drop for the turn. So things looking pretty darn good here for Logan.
Yeah.
But he's just going to play it patient here and pass the turn back after hitting his land.
Perhaps considering running at the Iteration, but still has ways to kind of filter through his deck for more lands, right? He's got that Prismari Command in hand. He's actually quite close. If he goes Prismari Command, makes a treasure, and finds a land, he can just slam Nezahal on turn 5.
But what if it gets countered, Paul?
Well... That'll be Levy down a counterspell.
Interestingly, one little sub note here with Prismari Command, by the way, is it does, you know, prevent Levy from being able to go off in either way with Indomitable Creativity, because it can do 2 damage to the 1/1, or it can destroy, or I should say, or it can destroy the treasure. Is he going for it here?
He's going for it, and he is not going to like the outcome here. Logan Nettles is going to respond with Prismari Command. Levy clearly signaling that he has a mystical dispute, but Logan has one of his own to fight back. This is going to be huge. If Logan Nettles, after this counter fight, can find a land on top, he can just slam Nezahal next turn.
You never want to be the first one to go in this matchup, and Raph Levy just opened the door. Let's see, and there it is, a land off the top for Nettles.
Slam it!
And he can just play Nezahal Primal top out Levy, especially if he draws a bunch of lands. He's got 4 lands in hand, which is, by the way, why Raph went for it, I think, is that he is looking at it like, this is not getting much better for me. I need to do something. But the patience of Logan Nettles paying off huge there.
Yeah, it is really important in this matchup to just really kind of play it a little bit patiently, at least until you think they might be able to slam that Nezahal. But the thing is, Raph did keep it in action light hand. He had, I think, that one turn there to potentially top deck another creativity of his own to try to get Nezahal into play. But at this point, I mean, you know, we got a Nezahal on the battlefield. Logan has Shark Typhoon. He's going to draw a card off of every single spell Levy plays. He just has such a huge uphill battle to climb here.
All right, we got a race situation here. 3 turn clock versus 16 turn clock. Make your predictions now. Okay, here's Shark Typhoon. Now, if there were an answer, Nezahal is temporarily there, but it takes 7 damage. Not going to happen here. Memory Lapse in hand just about seals the deal, you'd think.
Right, because now, I mean, Levy could have tried to lean on those the Magma Opus, right, to tap down to Nezahal, draw some cards, kill a 4/4 Shark, but now with the Memory Lapse, I mean, he's not going to even be able to resolve that instant.
In fact, it's just going to be an extra card in the hand for Logan after all is said and done there. Really just a disaster here for Raphael Levy. His draw has not cooperated. Logan had a good draw and showed a very important stretch of patience there. Remember that one turn he could have said, you know, I can leave up Dispute and fire off Expressive Iteration here and be fine. And he didn't, and it really paid off for him because Raph felt the pressure. He just said, even though nothing was going on board, he had such a bad hand, he just thought, I have to go for it.
And here, Logan, so far ahead, thinking, how can I lose this game? Well, respecting a potential Shark Typhoon here from Raph Levy.
To eat the 4/4, yeah.
Right.
Wow. And by the way, you know, that's a subtle thing that you just saw there. And that you're pointing out, Paul, but it really does show the confidence that Logan has in this board state right now. That he feels that he has the luxury of playing around things like that. And he's going for the kill right now. Ether Gust to get rid of the token to prevent a chump block. And it's going to be good game here from Raph. Is he going to concede, though?
So Raph has already done this a couple of times in this tournament.
He keeps doing that.
He says good game when he's like, not 100% to lose, but like 95% to lose.
Right. It's a little.
Yeah.
I mean,
but this
maybe
is
he's just being polite, but
yeah.
At any rate, it is going to be a good game because there's a Memory Lapse in hand here for Nettles or an Ether Gust or whatever.
Or
pick your poison. It is going to be a Memory Lapse on the Magma
I like how
Opus.
he's like, you know what? I'm not going to use the Ether Gust. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to win this game. But
That's right. Do the one you want, and that's going to be it. That is going to send Raphael Levy packing. That's number 6 for him as far as top finishes goes, but it's going to end here. Logan Nettles is going to continue